Good evening, you're watching Mirror Now. This is the Urban Debate. Thank you for joining us. It is a somber evening in India as we have lost not just a former Prime Minister, but perhaps also the architect of India as we enjoy her today. Let's first take a look at the headlines. At the age of 93, former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee has passed away at the AIIMS hospital after 2 months of illness.
Never expected the end will come soon. Very sad to know about the demise of the nation's beloved leader, Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
मैं उनको अपनी ओर से बहुत बहुत श्रद्धांजलि व्यक्त करना चाहता हूँ। ये व्यक्तिगत हम सभी के लिए एक बहुत बड़ी हानि है।
As India loses one of its tallest statesmen, tributes pour in from all corners of the country. The Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, says it's a personal loss for him. The President says Atalji was in a league of his own. BJP veteran L.K. Advani pens a very emotional goodbye letter. He says Vajpayee's sterling humane qualities like compassion and humility and the remarkable ability to win over adversaries despite ideological differences had a profound effect on him personally. Also in the country today, heavy rains and floods have struck several parts of India. The death toll has risen to 87 in Kerala alone, with a red alert in 14 districts. Landslides in Karnataka have killed 5 people, and in Kashmir, flash floods have led to 2 deaths. And the centre has deployed all three wings of the armed forces in a massive rescue operation in Kerala. Helicopters have rescued many stranded people from the terraces of their homes in Ernakulam and Alva. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear a plea seeking the centre's mediation between Kerala and Tamil Nadu over the Mullaperiyar Dam water level. This is after Tamil Nadu refused Kerala's request to lower the water level in the dam. High alert in 5 regions of Karnataka now. 2 people have been killed after heavy rains lashed several parts of the state. The Jog Falls are full. Shimoga, Chikmagalur, parts of the Western Ghats and Madikeri and Coorg are facing landslides. Well, as India mourns the loss of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, former Prime Minister and statesman, we'll take a look at his life and his career after this break.
ये तालियां मेरी कविता के लिए नहीं, आपके सुरों।
समझौते ये पाकिस्तान से कहा गया है। एक नहीं दो नहीं करो 20 समझौते पर स्वतंत्र भारत का मस्तक नहीं झुकेगा। इसे मिटाने की साजिश करने वालों से कह दो चिनगारी का खेल पूरा होता है।
Freedom fighter, Prime Minister, astute parliamentarian for over 40 years, orator, poet and a Bharat Ratna, Atal Bihari Vajpayee donned many hats. Vajpayee's political career took off when he teamed up with Morarji Desai against the Congress to form the Janata Party. Vajpayee and Desai went on to win the 1977 elections. He was appointed Minister for External Affairs in the Morarji Desai cabinet. But the Janata Party government didn't sustain and eventually met its doom after Morarji Desai's resignation. Not the case with Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who by then was widely respected as an astute statesman.
मंडित करने वाले महासागर के किनारे खड़े होकर मैं ये भविष्यवाणी करने का साहस करता हूं कि अंधेरा छटेगा, सूरज निकलेगा, कमल खिलेगा.
Vajpayee fought back, this time bringing together his long-time friends L.K. Advani and Bhairon Singh Shekhawat to form the Bharatiya Janata Party in 1980. He became the first president of the BJP and was also the moderate Hindutva voice of the party. After the Babri Masjid demolition, despite his peers supporting it, Vajpayee was among the few in the party who condemned it unequivocally. His statesmanship won him many admirers, some across party lines. Former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru had predicted early on that Vajpayee would someday become India's Prime Minister. In 95, BJP President L.K. Advani also declared the same, and as expected, he was sworn in as India's 10th Prime Minister in 96.
ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ, ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा.
His first term lasted less than 2 weeks, but Vajpayee would come back for 11 months as Prime Minister in 98 and later for a full term in 99. Vajpayee's high point was his efforts to make peace with Pakistan. The Delhi to Lahore bus service, introduced in 99, is one of his many legacies. But Vajpayee also had a more private side to his persona. The former Prime Minister was also a prolific poet, and his own words best sum up the larger-than-life legacy he leaves behind.
मौत की उम्र क्या है? 2 पल भी नहीं. जिंदगी सिलसिला आज कल की नहीं. मैं जी भर जिया, मैं मन से मरूं. लौट कर आऊंगा, कूच से क्यों डरूं.
Well, unfortunately, it is time to bid goodbye to former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. What you're looking at right now are live shots of the residence of Mr. Vajpayee, and our correspondent Meenakshi has updates for us on what preparations are going to be taking place and what the schedule will be like, most likely tomorrow in Delhi. Remember, the public will have an opportunity perhaps to also pay their respects to a very, very beloved leader. Meenakshi?
Indeed, Faye, the news is just about sinking in, and yes, we can confirm to our viewers that within the BJP leadership, the tasks have been differently allocated between various leaders. For instance, just a short while back, we've been given to understand that leaders like Dharmendra Pradhan, who is also Union Minister, has been allocated the task of monitoring all that is happening inside the premises of the former Prime Minister's residence, and we have information that he will be there till about 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Early hours today, monitoring or supervising everything is in place. So likewise, there are others as well who have been allocated different tasks, and this is an indication how the party and also those who are part of the party want to be really involved. They want to contribute in some way, and the party leadership does not want for anybody to feel bereft of any contribution whatsoever. Very quickly, Faye, we're coming to you from a market area where the news has just sunk in. We do not get an opportunity to really speak to the man on the ground about an event of this nature. We have been following so many leaders. We have have been following so many reactions of people who have come in, but these are the people at the grassroots level whose lives also got impacted by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I want to bring across a couple of reactions very quickly.
For a second, forgive me, but I do believe BJP President Amit Shah is about to make a statement to the press. We're going to cut across to that right now.
शांति मेंटेन करें। हमारी राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष जी अपनी टिप्पणी करेंगे। आज का शोक का दिन है, कृपया करके शांत रहें। क्या कर रहे हैं? क्या कर रहे हैं? ये गिर रहा है मगर चलो तो भाई उधर वजह क्यों बैग तो उठा अपना। अरे बैग अरे चुप हो जा भाई। आज अटल जी के देह अवसान के साथ ही भारतीय राजनीति के आकाश का ध्रुव तारा नहीं रहा। अटल जी बहुमुखी प्रतिभा के धनी थे। इनके जाने के साथ ही देश ने एक अजात शत्रु राजनेता खोया है। साहित्य ने एक मूर्धन्य संवेदनशील कवि को खोया है। पत्रकारिता ने एक स्वभावगत पत्रकार को खोया है। देश की संसद ने सन 57 से संसद में गरीबों की और देश की आवाज बने हुई आवाज को खोया है। भारतीय जनसंघ से स्थापक सदस्य और भाजपा ने अपना पहला राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष खोया है और करोड़ों युवाओं ने अपनी प्रेरणा को खोया है। अटल जी के न रहने से देश की राजनीति में जो रिक्तता खड़ी हुई है, वो रिक्तता को लंबे समय तक भरना असंभव है। अटल जी का व्यक्तित्व बहुआयामी होने के साथ साथ एक कुशल संगठक के नाते पहले जनसंघ और बाद में भारतीय जनता पार्टी की नींव को डालना और एक बीज में से वटवृक्ष बनाने तक की यात्रा को अटल जी ने हम सभी कार्यकर्ताओं का मार्गदर्शन किया। देशभक्ति की जहां पर भी संसद में जरूरियात होती थी, अटल जी उसकी आवाज बने। न केवल भारतीय जनता पार्टी, समूची संसद का विश्वास होता था कि अटल जी जो कहेंगे वो देश के हित में होगा। और आज मैं मानता हूं कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लिए तो ये अपूर्णीय क्षति है, इसकी पूर्ति कभी हो नहीं सकती, परंतु देश के सार्वजनिक जीवन में भी अटल जी जैसे व्यक्तित्व के जाने से एक अपूर्णीय क्षति हुई है। मुझे लगता है इसकी पूर्ति होना असंभव है। अटल जी ने कई सारे मौकों पर, चाहे वो इमरजेंसी के खिलाफ की लड़ाई हो, चाहे कश्मीर के लिए यूएन में आवाज बुलंद करनी हो, चाहे दलगत राजनीति से ऊपर उठकर बांग्लादेश की लड़ाई के वक्त स्टैंड लेना हो, चाहे हिंदी को प्रमुखता से देश में फैलाव के लिए आगे ले जाना हो, चाहे एक बैलेंस नेता के नाते समस्याओं का समाधान करने की दिशा में पूरे देश को समाधान देने हो। अटल जी ने हमेशा भारतीय जनता पार्टी के सिर्फ नेता के नाते काम नहीं किया, सार्वजनिक जीवन के एक देशभक्त नेता के नाते पूरे देश का मार्गदर्शन किया है। आज मैं भारतीय जनता पार्टी की ओर से, भारतीय जनता पार्टी के दुनिया भर में फैले करोड़ों कार्यकर्ताओं और समर्थकों की ओर से गहरे दुख की संवेदना व्यक्त करता हूं और आज हम भारतीय जनता पार्टी के सभी कार्यकर्ता संकल्पवान होते हैं कि अटल जी जो काम छोड़ कर गए हैं वो पार्टी के मिशन को हम आगे ले जाएंगे। मित्रों, अभी 9:30 बजे से अटल जी के अंतिम दर्शन के लिए यहाँ पर उनके निवास स्थान पर ही व्यवस्था की गई है। सुबह 7:30 से 8:30 बजे तक यही निवास स्थान पर भी अटल जी के अंतिम दर्शन होंगे। 9 बजे उनके पार्थिव शरीर को भाजपा मुख्यालय 6A दीनदयाल मार्ग पर ले जाया जाएगा और 1 बजे उनकी अंतिम यात्रा निकलेगी और 4 बजे राष्ट्रीय स्मृति स्थल पर उनके अंतिम संस्कार किए जाएंगे। मैं जानता हूं, व्यक्ति के जाने से विचार खत्म नहीं होते, व्यक्ति के जाने से आंदोलन समाप्त नहीं होते, व्यक्ति के जाने से विचारधाराएं उनके कर्तृत्व के कारण ज्यादा दृढ़ होती है, आंदोलन और पैने होते हैं। और हम सभी भारतीय जनता पार्टी के कार्यकर्ता अटल जी के आज दुखद निधन के अवसर पर देश को आगे ले जाने के लिए पुनः एक बार संकल्पित होकर देश को आगे ले जाने का भारतीय जनता पार्टी का जो अभियान है उसको आगे बढ़ाएंगे। इसका मैं देश को आश्वासन देता हूं। अटल जी का परिवार, भारतीय जनता पार्टी के कार्यकर्ता और अटल जी के चाहने वाले दलों से भी ऊपर उठकर दुनिया भर में जो बिखरे हुए हैं, सभी को ये दुख सहन करने की परमात्मा शक्ति दे, ऐसी परमात्मा से प्रार्थना कर मेरी वाणी को विराम देता हूं। धन्यवाद।
Well, that was party president Mr. Amit Shah making a statement, and a very emotional statement. But just to go over the details that he did share with us, he did say that at Mr. Vajpayee's home, they will bring the body home for an Antim Darshan, or an opportunity to pay your final respects, 9:30 p.m. onwards tonight. At 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, Mr. Vajpayee's remains will be moved to the BJP headquarters in Delhi. 1 o'clock onwards, the procession will begin, and at 4 o'clock in the evening, the last rites will be conducted at Smriti Sthal near Rajghat. So that's the information we're receiving of the schedule. These are shots of the preparation coming in right now on Doordarshan and ANI that are on your screen, where people will be allowed to come in and pay their respects at the Vajpayee residence in New Delhi. We are going to remember Mr. Vajpayee as the politician, the poet and the statesman. We have with us this evening people who knew him well and who interacted with him. Joining me on the show, Padma Shri Padmaja Penani Jolekar, who has worked on his poem. She's a singer, a Hindustani classical singer who has actually put music to the poetry that Mr. Vajpayee wrote, and she's here to share her experiences with us. Joining us as well, Kingsuk Nag, who wrote a book on Mr. Vajpayee, joining us out of Hyderabad. Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay is a journalist and author who's covered specifically right-wing politics in India and has tracked Mr. Vajpayee's career. Rashid Kidwai is an author and a journalist. Yogendra Yadav will join us as well. We'll also have Siddharth Mishra, a senior journalist, and Vinay Tiwari, consulting editor for the Times Network. I welcome all of you to this conversation. My condolences, first of all, to each of you for the loss that we have faced as a nation. पद्मजा जी, मुझे पहले ही तो आपसे ये पूछना है कि आपकी पहली मुलाकात जो हुई थी वाजपेयी जी के साथ, उसके बारे में कुछ बताइए।
It was 9th August 97, वो जो क्रांति दिन था, और उस वक्त उप मुख्यमंत्री गोपीनाथ राव मुंडे साहब के घर पे मेरी उनसे भेंट हुई थी। फिर उनकी वाइफ प्रज्ञा जी ने अटल जी से कहा कि पद्मजा आपकी कविताएं गाती हैं, मेरे पास किसी ने एक मेरी 51 कविताएं, ये कविता संग्रह भेजा था अटल जी का, और आई वॉज वेरी मच इम्प्रेस्ड। मैंने जो उनकी कविता पढ़ी, गीत नया गाता हूँ, उसमें उन्होंने लिखा है, हार नहीं मानूंगा किसी भी हालत में, कौन से भी संकट कितने भी आ जाएं, हार नहीं मानूंगा, रार नहीं ठानूंगा, और काल के कपाल पर लिखता मिटाता हूँ। ये कविता देखिए।
अब एक मिनट आपको इंटरप्ट करना है, माफ़ी मांगती हूँ। हमारे साथ फ़ोन लाइन पे जुड़े हुए शिवराज पाटिल जी, फॉर्मर होम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया। मिस्टर पाटिल, गुड इवनिंग, माय condolences to you to begin with for the loss of Mr. Vajpayee this evening. As someone who was a colleague in Parliament with him, who perhaps witnessed his career firsthand, do you believe that we have in fact lost a statesman like no other?
Would you like me to speak in English or Hindi?
English is just fine, Mr. Patil.
Okay. Mr. Vajpayee was a great human being. He was a very talented poet, and he was very effective and correct type of politician. As a leader of a party, as somebody who understands the importance of taking into consideration the views and wishes of the ordinary human beings and the intelligent people in the country, who understands the past and the present and the future, and who understand the importance of being all the time just and correct with everybody, would feel that his going away from this world is a great loss, not only to the country, but to the world also. Because world also suffers when right type of people disappear and their advice is not available to them.
Mr. Patil, a lot of people who have spoken and a lot of netas and leaders who put out messages talk about how Mr. Vajpayee had no enemies, especially with his relationships with the opposition. In your experience, sitting across the aisle from him in Parliament, in opposition, or having him in opposition in some cases, what was that relationship like?
He was always correct. He was always just. And he was not saying or doing anything which would be taken into consideration by the people of his party alone. But he always thought of doing things in a correct manner, just manner, and in a manner which will help not the present but the future also. Now that kind of approach of his made him loved by many people belonging to different parts and the sections of our society and political parties also. Now, he was not only respected by his party members, but he was respected by the leaders and the party members belonging to other sections of the society also. I think that his approach was political, it was philosophical, and it was scientific also. His approach was to decide the issues and the difficulties through conversation, discussion, and negotiation. But if an opportunity arose where some kind of force was used against the country or the people or the right type of ideology, he was of the view that that also should be opposed in the manner in which that kind of unjust approach does not affect the people also. That was his approach, political approach also.
Mr. Patil, what do you think the biggest learning could be from Mr. Vajpayee's life and career for modern day politicians and perhaps aspiring leaders as well?
The biggest thing which one can learn from his philosophy of life is to give importance to spirituality, to the pragmatic approach of life and the scientific approach, and try to make use of the bounties given by the nature to the humanity and to all creatures also in the right manner, and try to do things which will help everybody in the country and in the world also. He was a patriot, but he was also a person who understood the importance of world peace and having good relations with neighborly countries. And if the neighbor countries in the neighborhood were not accepting the principle of peaceful approach and this approach which can be useful through dialogue and discussion, he was also thinking as a correct time of politicians that the country should be prepared to face that difficulty also by having all the things required for this purpose, and for which he did take the decision.
Mr. Patil, thank you for joining us here on Mirror Now on the phone line. We appreciate your time on this evening. Shivraj Patil, former Home Minister, and who joined us on the phone line to give us his thoughts on how Mr. Vajpayee will be missed and his Mr. Vajpayee's contribution to the country. I'm going to go back to Padmaja ji, who is in the middle of her story. Padmaja ji, आपने कविताओं को गाने में चेंज करके उनको गा के सुनाया था वाजपेयी जी को,
और उनको सबसे पहले उनको विश्वास ही नहीं हो रहा था। उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि आप मेरी कविता गाएंगी? मेरी कविता तो कोई गा नहीं सकता, क्योंकि मैंने वो मुक्त छंद में लिखी है। मैंने कहा
उसका मतलब मीटर नहीं होता है, और
बिल्कुल मीटर नहीं होता है ऐसे मुक्त छंद में, लेकिन उनकी कविता थोड़ी मीटर में थी बेसिकली, तो उसे हमने थोड़ा सा कन्वर्ट भी कहीं कहीं कर लिया था। तो उनके सामने जब मैंने गाया तो उठ के खड़े हो गए स्टैंडिंग ओवेशन के साथ। उन्होंने कहा कि ये तालियां मेरी कविता के लिए नहीं बल्कि आपके सुरों के लिए हैं। तो ये मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ी शाबाशी थी। और मेरे साथ मेरे सीडीज़ के स्पॉन्सर्स भी थे और मेरे पति सुनील जी भी थे। उन्होंने दोनों ने उनसे पूछा कि अगर हम आपकी कविताओं की सीडी अगर बनाएं तो आपकी अनुमति अगर है तो उन्होंने कहा अगर यही लड़की गाएगी, यही लड़की अगर गाएगी तो ही मेरी अनुमति है। तो उसके बाद हमने,
आप कुछ गा के सुनाएंगे वो दिन जो आपने गा के सुनाया?
ज़रूर ज़रूर। गीत नया गाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ, टूटे हुए तारों से फूटे वासंती स्वर, पत्थर की छाती में उग आया नव अंकुर, झरे सब पीले पात, कोयल की कुहुक रात, प्राची में अरुणिमा की रेख देख पाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ।
Thank you. I will open this up now to the rest of my panel. Thank you all for joining us here. Yogendra Yadav joins us as well, the president of Swaraj India. Mr. Yadav, that was Padmaja ji, who had put a beautiful tune and lent her lovely voice to the poetry of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. But Mr. Vajpayee has left behind so much more than poetry. He's left behind a legacy of statesmanship, of respect, of a sort of communication that perhaps very few people still use.
He was a poet, he was an orator, he was a parliamentarian, but he was much more. And an occasion like this in our national life is an occasion where you step aside the usual oppositions of politics, the ideological boundaries, and you think about what you can learn, especially for people like me who do not come from that political and ideological tradition that Atalji belonged to. It would only be fair to say that people like me come from almost the opposite end of the spectrum. And the question is, what do we learn from someone like him? I remember him, and for me, someone like him is a national treasure. One, because he was a true democrat who could listen to people, who could listen to voices different than him, who could keep people together, which in many ways is the essence of how Indian society and Indian politics must run. I remember him as someone who knew the limits of ideology. He had an ideology, not my ideology, very different, but someone who could say this further and no more. Stop here. So when 2002 Gujarat happens, famously he says Raj Dharma. He draws the line there, goes to Kashmir and is asked, Samvidhan ke daire mein hoga kya? It's a very tricky question. He stops and says, Insaniyat ke daire mein hoga. How beautiful. You know, this shows you that a person at a critical moment rises to the occasion, goes beyond the whatever ideologies we may have inherited. So in a sense, it's a lesson for all of us. And I also remember him as someone who understood political opportunities, not in a simple sense, but for a national political life. Do remember that when he was the foreign minister, 1977 to 79, he actually goes out of his way to have a relationship with China and Pakistan, which no one expected him to do. He did that. There's Kargil. After Kargil, he actually invites Musharraf for that famous Agra summit, which unfortunately did not fructify. But this was an act of great statesmanship, which no one thought was possible. These are the kind of things that we all remember, that we all need to learn from. And in that sense, we all pay homage, we all learn, in spite of all the ideological differences, political differences. But at a moment like this, those differences look small, and what you can learn from someone like him looks bigger.
Yes. Rashid Kidwai joins us as well out of Bhopal. He's an author and a journalist. Mr. Kidwai has tracked the career and the life of Mr. Vajpayee very closely. Rashid Kidwai ji, obviously there are a lot of stories that are being told. We're remembering what he was like and his terms were like, or his time as Prime Minister. But I'm sure you came across instances or stories that we don't know of. Is there anything you believe will help the audience or the citizens understand Mr. Vajpayee better? A story that you could tell us?
I think the way Mr. Yogendra Yadav has put it, he was a truly practicing Democrat. In 1962, he was member of Rajya Sabha. He very angrily told Jawaharlal Nehru that a special session of parliament should be called to discuss the Indo-China war. And it was a messy situation. Nehru agreed. But when he became foreign minister in 1977, when he foreign minister, he went to his office and he saw that Nehru's photograph was missing from the foreign minister's chamber. And he asked, he says, they said, no, there's been a change of government, a change of ideology. He said, no, I want Jawaharlal Nehru's photograph here, and he had made a tremendous contribution to foreign policy matters. It should be there. And then, he had a very he fought politically with Sonia Gandhi, but in 2001, he had sent her to America to head an Indian parliamentary delegation, and that actually helped Sonia Gandhi a lot in establishing herself as a credible opposition leader, and she got to meet Dick Cheney and several other big leaders in America. So Mr. Vajpayee at heart was a huge Democrat, and he actually believed in having very good cordial relations with the opposition leaders. Of course, he had himself a lot to say. I mean, when Rajiv Gandhi died, he had firstly said that, his life was saved because Rajiv Gandhi had sent him to a delegation in America, and he used that opportunity for his treatment. So this fact, nobody knew about it, but Mr. Vajpayee went public with it.
Yes, absolutely. And I have another message to read out, and this one is from the Russian ambassador to India, who's put out a message saying, "We mourn the death of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, a great statesman. His name became an integral part of a whole era of Indian politics. He devoted his service to the nation, and that can hardly be overestimated." And Vinay, this is an indication of not just his influence on India, but outside of India, with the neighbors, like Mr. Yadav was pointing out, but also right across the seas to America, for example. The first visit from a US president on Indian soil happened while Mr. Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. There was a lot going on in that time.
And I think his ability to, or the talent to be a world statesman or leader got spotted way back, even before he was part of the BJP. He was a foreign minister in the Janta government. And as a foreign minister, he then ultimately went on and made that historic, it was an assertion of Indian right when he went and spoke in Hindi in the UN. It wasn't just domestic politics, it was an assertion of the right that India as a country has perhaps arrived. And in doing that, I think he firmly placed himself as a man who can see beyond the obvious. I don't think there were too many people in that part of the era who kind of believed the fact that India would have arrived. 77, 78 was not the time when you would have believed in yourself as a nation. He did that. Subsequently, of course, all the other things that you mentioned, whether it was the way he handled the post-Pokhran sanctions that were imposed on us, I think it was a bold calculation. And I think he perhaps, hindsight will tell you, he rightly calculated that these sanctions can't continue for long. India was not the same country that one was there in 70s or the 80s. We had now changed. India was a larger market. It was a growing economy.
And that led to a sense of sort of self-worth for all Indians, that we can no longer be bullied, we can stand among the rest. The idea that we could at some point be a power or a superpower perhaps took birth at that point.
Yes, and it also reinforced the fact that he was one of India's only Teflon-coated prime ministers. Despite all the crises and despite all, I mean, how many prime ministers can survive international sanctions for 6 years in a situation where the economy runs the risk of being in danger? He didn't actually. The economy ran pretty fine during those 6 months, but he did that risk, and he never really got the kind of criticism that maybe some other prime ministers would have got. And that, I think, is a tribute to the way he would be able to handle other people outside.
In fact, all of the mentions right now of his poetry, of his oratory skills for our viewers, post 9 o'clock we'll actually be playing out entire speeches because we know that this is a part of Mr. Vajpayee's life that people enjoyed the most. Even clips of him narrate or reading out or reciting his own poetry will be up 9 p.m. onwards. We also have Kingshuk Nag, senior journalist and author, who authored a book on Mr. Vajpayee. Mr. Nag, thank you for joining us. I'm just going to pick up from where Vinay left off about the fact that he was a Teflon-coated Prime Minister. A lot happened while he was Prime Minister. The Kandahar hijackings, for example, the attack on Parliament, Kargil, repeated attempts and then failures of relationships with Pakistan, and a fair amount of scams as well. But somehow Mr. Vajpayee's his persona or his reputation didn't take a beating at all.
Can't hear.
Okay, Mr. Nag can't hear me, so I'll take that question then to Nilanjan. Nilanjan, even though he disagreed, and he had a lot of people within the BJP and the RSS who disagreed with him, he held steady on all his decisions and somehow came out unscathed. The love that people have for Mr. Vajpayee did not diminish under any of these circumstances.
If you actually look at his entire tenure as Prime Minister from 98 to 2004, you will find that there was a very constant recurring factor within the Sangh Parivar, which is that Mr. Vajpayee was all the time combating with what we call the economic nationalists, within the Sangh Parivar, the hardliners. You had the Swadeshi Jagran Manch constantly at loggerheads with him. You also had the other fringe forces, led by the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, which tried to go beyond the constitution, especially on the contentious 3 issues on which the BJP was committed, which is abrogation of Article 370 of the constitution, which gives special status to Kashmir, to introduction of the Uniform Civil Code, and of course constructing a Ram temple. Now, Mr. Vajpayee was very clear that after forming the government in 98, he decided that he is not going to form a government which is just going to lurch from one crisis to another. So he was instrumental in forming what was, penning down what was called the National Agenda of Governance, NAG as it was called, which would bind the entire coalition. And that was what, in many ways, set what I say, that he set the template of the coalition dharma in this country. Unfortunately, this template has not been followed by this government, and it has been visible over the last several months with various allies of the BJP raising their protests, especially at a time when the BJP has appeared to be electorally vulnerable. So there have been constant issues, between 98 and 2004. In fact, many believe that in 2004, one of the primary reasons as to why the BJP did not do well and, Mr. Vajpayee was defeated was because of lack of enthusiasm of the RSS cadre to mobilize voters and to turn out and vote for the BJP. So while we are talking about Mr. Vajpayee, the various positives, you also have to understand that there was actually, there were problems at numerous occasions, from within the family, given the kind of politics that he espoused.
It's true. There were problems from within the family, but somehow the public, and yes. In India we don't measure public approval ratings like America does, but somehow the public approval ratings for everything that he did was always strong. And I just want to know if Mr. Nag can hear me now in the Hyderabad studio. Mr. Nag, public approval or citizen approval for Mr. Vajpayee never waned, irrespective of the decisions he was making. All right, so there does seem to be an audio problem. I'll take that question to Yogendra Yadav. Yogendra ji, again, other than there are very few prime ministers who can boast of being voted back in consecutive elections. That's another thing that is specific to maybe Pandit Nehru and then Mr. Vajpayee. The fact that he always remained loved, Mr.
Yadav. That was a function of a certain persona that he had developed and a certain connect with the people, which is something that he always retained, irrespective of wherever he was at different points of his political career. But if you permit me, rather than go on with analysis, I thought I would share one small episode which I did not know about. This is not from my life. I was too small, insignificant for ever having met him. But this is something I came across, and I don't, unless it's already been shared. This is when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Foreign Minister of India, and he sent a poem to be published in Saptahik Hindustan, which was then a leading Hindi magazine. And here is an exchange between the Foreign Minister of India and the editor of a Hindi magazine. This exchange I found so moving, unless it's already been shared. The editor at that point was Manohar Shyam Joshi, himself a very well-known Hindi writer. So Vajpayee ji sends him a poem which is not published. He waits, and after that he writes this very short letter to the editor. Says, this is to the editor, basically saying, sorry, for some reason it's not moving, but he says to the editor that I had sent you this poem. अगर आपको अच्छी ना लगी हो तो कूड़ेदान में फेंक दें, पर अगर ठीक लगे तो छाप दीजिएगा. And he writes a little poem actually on what an author feels vis-a-vis the editor. Editor is the Malik, and the poem ends by saying कि कविता लिखना कठिन है, लेकिन कविता छपवाना उससे भी ज़्यादा कठिन है. So that's how he complains to the editor. And the editor sends him a sort of a strong a response. Sorry, I've now got it. If you don't mind, I'll just read that one para. The Vajpayee ji wrote, प्रिय संपादक जी, जयराम जी की, समाचार ये है कि कुछ दिन पहले मैंने एक अदद गीत आपकी सेवा में रवाना किया था. पता नहीं आपको मिला कि नहीं. निका लगे तो छाप लें, नहीं तो रद्दी की टोकरी में फेंक दें. इस संबंध में कुंडली लिखी है. कुंडली इज ए स्टाइल ऑफ राइटिंग हिंदी पोएट्री वेयर द लास्ट लाइन इज कठिन कविता कर पाना, लेकिन उससे कठिन कहीं कविता छपवाना. एंड देन द एडिटर सेज, आदरणीय अटल जी महाराज, आपकी शिकायती चिट्ठी मिली. इससे पहले कोई एक सज्जन टाइप की हुई कविता दे गए थे कि अटल जी की है, ना कोई खत ना कोई दस्तखत. आपके पत्र से स्थिति स्पष्ट हुई और संबद्ध कविता पृष्ठ 15 पर प्रकाशित हुई. आपने कुंडली कही तो हमें भी एक कविता याद आ गई. So the editor now replies to him in poem. कह जोशी कविराय सुनो जी अटल बिहारी, बिना पत्र के कविवर कविता मिली तिहारी. कविता मिली तिहारी साइन किंतु न पाया, because he had sent the poem without a signature of his own. हमें लगा चमचा कोई खुद ही लिख लाया. कविता छपे आपकी यह तो बड़ा सरल है, टाले से कब टले नाम जब स्वयं अटल है. Just think of this exchange. I mean, do you expect this kind of an exchange between an editor and a foreign minister of this country today? Or, I mean, for that matter, any minister. You know, such was the relationship between political power and the world of ideas. I thought this was so moving. This gave you a glimpse of the man. It gave you a glimpse of the time that this country has witnessed. Isn't that beautiful?
It is, in fact, Mr. Yadav, very beautiful. Siddharth Mishra is with us as well. Mr. Mishra, is there a story or an instance that you could share with us about Mr. Vajpayee's life?
Yeah. You see, I spent about 10 years covering his... I was not a political correspondent per se. I was a reporter. I was to cover his public meetings. And when he had just taken over as Prime Minister, his first Janta Darbar had gone haywire. It happened at the residence where he stayed before he shifted to Racecourse Road, opposite Meridian. So the next Janta Darbar was organized by Pramod ji at Racecourse, and a lot of arrangement was made, and some of the reporters were also taken to witness that the Darbar was good. And Atal ji cared a damn if reporters were there and he had to pose for the cameras or the reporters, you know. So, you know, some of the some children were there, you know, and Atal ji could sense that photographers have not had a good click. So he said, मैं किसी बच्चे को गोद में उठा लूँ, आपकी तस्वीर बन जाएगी. So that was the man, you know, he could understood the thing. So he understood everybody's requirement. That poor reporter, you know, the kind of monster which is being made out of reporters today and the photographers, Atal ji did not see that kind of, you know, fallacy in us. And then, you know, and I also recall, you know, among the people, among the Janta people, there was somebody who had come from Odisha, who had come with a spring machine, and he said that this machine which I've invented could, you know, actually do wonders and things like that. You know, none of us really felt that this machine could be of any use, but the Prime Minister gave him a hearing and asked Sudhirendra Kulkarni, who was to be his personal aide, that he must pay attention to this man. And then when we asked, he had told us, the reporters in the passing, that he should not go disheartened that he came all the way from Odisha to the Prime Minister Janta Darbar, and he did not give him a hearing. So that was Vajpayee's, you know, way of engagement with people, way of engagement with press, way of engagement with media. And there was another public meeting which I remember in 98 elections or maybe 99 in Muzaffarnagar, and there was rain, there was this thing, and they have all landed there. Kalyan Singh ji was there, everybody was there, and Kalyan Singh, then, you know, he started his speech in his own way. He said कि हमने भी राम लल्ला से टेलीफोन पे बात किया था तो बारिश बंद हो गई और हम लोग आ गए यहाँ पे. That few girls, you know, raised black flags in the from the crowd, and you know, as the police people pounced on them and everything. But then Atalji's term came, and he said कि मुझे लगता है कि जिलाधिकारी जी ने उन प्रोटेस्टर्स को छोड़ दिया होगा अभी तक, और यहाँ पर मैं इसके साथ नहीं जाऊँ कि किसी को मेरे भाषण में कुछ कहने के लिए प्रताड़ित किया गया हो, कुछ किया गया हो. That was again, you know, the way of any kind of protest which would have come, you know, when they would have heard him speak like this. Certainly they would have, you know, not hold any grudge against him. So that was his way of engaging with people, you know, engaging with public. And again, you see his oration, whether, you know, I thought that all those 5-7 years that he spoke from Lal Kila's,
yes,
you know, those prepared speeches were very bad. You know, he did not do it in style. But when he spoke spontaneously, it was so good, so fantastic. And one of his last public meeting speeches was in Punjab elections in 2007, when Prakash Singh Badal's party, Akali Dal and BJP were contesting together, and actually they came to power. Atalji had said at that point of time, look, mark his words. It was March, month of March. There was some late winter rains were happening, and there was a lot of lightning and everything. The public meeting took place, and he had started saying, "Badal gadgada rahe hain, mausam badalne wala hai." Prakash Singh Badal being the chief ministerial candidate of his party, and mausam badalne wala hai means that there was a change going to happen. So that was his oration. That was his intelligence. That was his way of engaging with people.
Yes.
Such a spontaneity I have not seen in any public speaker in this country in last 25 years of somebody who has reached that stature. You know, he was ill at ease speaking from public prepared tests, you know, and he was at his best when he spoke with spontaneity, when he spoke at, you know, spoke his heart out. And one last instance when I remember, you know, he never, you know, he always made it a point to cut short his people from his party, you know. Venkaiah ji had become president of BJP and he has come back from a successful foreign tour and this thing, and BJP decided to do a felicitation function for him. And Atal ji, you know, went for that function and we reporters went to cover him again. So, you know, he said there, he started off saying there कि मुझे पता नहीं ये मीटिंग किस लिए किया गया है, मैंने पार्टी अध्यक्ष से पूछा तो पार्टी अध्यक्ष ने मुझे जवाब दिया हम आपका पार्टी का अध्यक्ष है, हम आपको फेलिसिटेट करना चाहता है इसीलिए हम ये फंक्शन कर रहा है. So, you know, he in a way, he said that, okay, I joining this function, but really did not endorse of the, you know, kind of public garlanding which was being done for a foreign tour or a foreign trip.
Yes.
So that was his that was his humility, that was his way of engagement in public. That is why, you know, probably these public statesmen did not make him earn any enemies in his long public life, you know.
Yes, and that has been said repeatedly in the last couple of hours that Mr. Vajpayee will not be remembered because of the number of friends he had, but because he had no enemies at all. And while we've run out of time, I'm going to go back to Padmaja ji. Padmaja ji, I'm going to ask you, उनकी memory में अगर आप कुछ और गा के सुनाएंगे उनकी कविता.
He was so much down to earth, और वो उनकी कविता में भी प्रतीत होता था. उनकी छोटी सी 2-4 लाइनें. मेरे प्रभु मेरे प्रभु मेरे प्रभु मेरे प्रभु मुझे इतनी ऊंचाई मत देना मुझे इतनी ऊंचाई मत देना कभी मत देना कि गैरों को गले लगा ना सकूं इतनी रुखाई कभी मत देना मेरे प्रभु मेरे प्रभु मेरे प्रभु मेरे प्रभु